Today we are planning on filming something, but today is also a day in which Martina's pain is a little bit unmanageable, so I think now is a good opportunity for me to film something on my own. I've received a bunch of emails from people who are spouses of somebody in chronic pain, and they've asked me how I handle it. I don't have chronic pain myself, my wife does. It's a big factor in her life, and she's done videos about how she copes with it. I do my best to try to help her through this. This is my purpose in life. From everything I've looked up online about spouses of somebody in chronic pain, it's really dark and really depressing. Don't Google it, it's gonna ruin your day. And what I wanna do today is not contribute to that darkness. And I'm not trying to delegitimize it either, because there's a laundry list as to why it's shitty to see the person that you love, the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, suffering. You see them getting worse, you see them in more pain, you see them not being able to be the person that they were before. But even though that's pretty sad, there are some benefits to having chronic pain in your life. I know that this is really stretching and looking for optimism here, but I think that there are legitimately 3 good things that have happened to me in my life as a result of this, and I'm gonna talk about those now. The first benefit, I think, is I've learned how to be more understanding and patient. I can't begin to count the amount of times I've heard couples handle their relationships terribly. Whenever there's some kind of fight, somebody's always like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Instead of being like, hey, are you hungry? Or are you tired? Or are you in pain? Maybe in your country you might have seen those Snickers commercials in which they're like, hey, Janice is a real asshole when she's hungry, give her a Snickers. And then Janice eats and she winds up being better. That's kind of the solution, even though Snickers isn't really part of the equation I want to talk about here. And so I think being aware of Martina's condition helps me better understand when she's not feeling well. I could say, hey, did you take your medicine this morning? Or, hey, do you need me to tape up your shoulder? Or do you need an ice pack? Or is the rain really kicking her ass today? When I see a lot of people get into arguments, I think that they're reacting to the outburst rather than to the underlying cause of the outburst. But with Martina, she's my best friend. I know her very well. She's my ducky, and I know how sweet and happy and carefree she normally is. So when I see her acting a little bit shorter than usual, I have the patience to be like, hey girl, what's happening? And that patience gives her patience as well to be like, hold on, something is wrong that I might not necessarily have been paying attention to. I think it helps us assess the situation a lot better, and I think that makes us a lot closer as a result.
Thanks for being patient with me, Ducky. You helped me learn a lot about myself.
We make sounds with our throats back and forth to each other like ducks. The second benefit to living with somebody in chronic pain is I think that I've learned calmness, like almost Uncle Iroh level calmness.
Who's that?
Uncle Iroh. Zuko balas.
Oh.
In the face of a small crisis, I could step back and say, okay, what's the issue and what can we do to solve this? Or is this something that we just have to ride out? I think constantly seeing all of the new and exciting symptoms that pop up with Martina's condition doesn't freak me out anymore, or at least it doesn't freak me out like it used to the point that I can actually be useful in the situation. And I think this kind of transfers into my everyday life as well, because now whenever there's some small crisis in my life, it's not as important as anything that happens to Martina. So if the website goes down, I could be like, what do we need to do to fix this? Or if a video shoot isn't going as planned, I'm like, okay, what can we do to solve this? I don't handle any of those situations with panic anymore. I kind of imagine it's kind of like a doctor. If you're working in an emergency ward and somebody comes in there bleeding, you don't say, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Nah, you're calm. You've seen this before, you've seen worse before, and you could handle this a lot more easily. And I don't think that I would have had that kind of calmness with everyday life situations if it wasn't for Martina's condition. So I think that's a second blessing. The third blessing I want to talk about is a measured optimism, which was probably the hardest thing for me to learn, because I know back in the day, whenever there was a crisis, I would think, holy shit, is this the end? Are we gonna die? Am I gonna die? And it's very easy to slip into that kind of panic thinking. In fact, sometimes it does happen to me now as well, but I'm a lot better at catching myself now. It takes the sting out of challenges when they come. I don't view them as a sign of how everything will be in the future. I view them as just a task that needs to be done at the moment. And at the same time, it gives me a different appreciation of the good days, when Martina's not in pain, when she's totally herself, when she could go out and do the things that she wants to do. I appreciate those so much more deeply than I did before, because I know as well that bad days will come. Martina's pain gets really bad during rainstorms, and there's been a really killer typhoon that's been kicking around Japan now. But I know that one day the clouds will pass and sunshine will come again. We all have some form of suffering in our lives. The question is, what are we gonna do with that suffering? Do we let it consume us and think about it all the time to the point that it affects our everyday lives? Or do we try to learn from it, grow from it, and become stronger people? So these are just my top 3 reasons, but there are actually more benefits I'm gonna talk about in my blog post. So if you want to, click on the link on the info box below and you could read more about it there. And I also wanna hear your thoughts about it, so leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I don't really have many people that I talk with about this. In fact, I don't think I talk with anybody about this. I don't have any friends that have spouses that are in chronic pain, or those that do, it's kind of a silent cross that we bear because we don't want to make our significant other feel worse or more guilty, which is something I'm kind of worried about with this video as well. But feel free to talk about this in the comment section below, because I personally know how hard it can be to talk about this otherwise. We will see you next time for a more fun and playful video. We still have many adventures that we want to share with you. I just thought that I'd share these thoughts with you today, and that's it for this series video. Oh boy, these are not easy to make. Roll footage! You might have a healthy member and Martina's and I think that this kind of okay, what do we need to do? Martina's bad. Martina's bad. She's so bad. Almost like an uncle. So the small benefit I think here is I kind of underlying causes of things.
Love you, Ducky.
Love you too, girl.
You can do it.